I call the meeting to order at 7:04. Welcome to returning new board members. Our first order of business this evening is to entertain nominations and elect a new board chair. So I'd like to open the floor for nominations.
I would nominate Robert Woodworth for.
Second.
We have a nomination of Robert Woodworth and a second. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor of electing Robert Woodworth as chair, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Congratulations.
I'm honored. Didn't get that long, did you?
No.
You can come in other meetings. You can come up and bang on it. Thank you. I appreciate the support. I'm still in my freshman year of this, but hopefully I will pick up the quality here as we go along. All right. Next would be nominations for election of board vice chair. Are there nominations?
I nominate Ruth Barton.
Second.
Second.
Okay. You got 2 seconds for Melanie or Ian.
I'll nominate Ricky Davidson.
Second.
Okay.
And that was second from you, Lori.
Yeah.
And now the speeches.
Well, there might be other nominations. There are other nominations? If not, is there a motion that nominations cease?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of ceasing nominations?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so we have 2 candidates, Ricky Davidson and Ruth Barton. And we have a vote, please. First for Ruth Barton. By hand, yes, I'm sorry, I should clear that because there's TV on us all the time, so the only way they really know. Okay?
Would it be possible that the candidates would just say a couple of words?
Yes, if they would like to, certainly. Go ahead, Ricky, you're right next to me.
Okay, now you go first. Okay. I appreciate the nomination, and I've had a decent time in the time that I've been the vice chair, and I would like to continue to be the vice chair if everyone feels good about that. I feel like Bob and I have been working really well together as chair and vice chair for the past few months since David and Michael left, and I'd like to continue to do that. I've been on the board off and on for a number of years now. I've been on a number of the committees, so I feel like I have some understanding of what goes on and how things are working, so I'd like to continue.
Yeah, and I guess I've been on the board for 9 years. I'm starting my 10th year on the board. I've been on a number of committees. I think I've worked hard on the committees that I've been on. And this is probably my last term on the board, and I'd just like to have an opportunity to be vice chair. Thank you.
Okay. You ready for a vote? All right. First for Ruth. And, okay, and for Ricky. What did you get for a count, Jane?
I have someone, and you, what do you need? 3 to 3?
And get Mike to rest.
Oh, we got Russ.
Oh, Russ. Ricky. Oh, yes, sorry. So I have 4 for Ricky and 3 for Ruth.
For close contact, Ricky will be vice chair.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Now we have next is the election of a clerk. There are nominations for clerk.
Nominate Ruth Barton.
Okay. Second. Second, Sean. Further nominations? Do you still continue to serve?
I will continue to serve as long as Jane continues to serve.
A lot of
Or
our service
someone
is
else in
contingent
that
on
position.
people staying around. All right, well, I guess we don't need to cease nominating, we only have one. Is there a motion to cast one ballot for the one person? Sure. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. 3 WSCSU voting members. The current voting members are Ruth. I guess I am.
I think you agreed to
You
be
can go
one
to
of
everything. Who is the third?
They're Ruth, Russ, and you.
Oh, Russ, okay. All right. Are there nominations for WSCSU voting members?
I nominate Bob Woodworth.
Okay, there's a
I'll second that.
I'll nominate Ruth.
I'll second that.
Em, can you second? Read that.
Or change.
Other nominations?
I nominate Russ Janice.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
okay. Are there other nominations? It's a popular position.
There's food at meetings.
Wow.
I was a voting member of the
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Okay.
Melanie, if you have an interest in doing that?
Well, if the three of you are happy doing it, I don't want to step on any toes.
I don't think there'd be any toe stepping. I nominate Melanie Fletcher.
I'll second that.
A second, okay. Any further nominations? Okay, is there a motion to cease nominations?
I move to cease nomination.
Okay,
Second.
and second, Lori? Jane, a chance to keep up there, he's gonna get writer's cramp. Okay, all in favor of ceasing nominations? Aye.
Is it possible to again have the
Yes.
candidates give a couple words?
Yes,
Thanks,
we
Buddy.
can certainly do that. You want to start, Ruth?
Well, I've been on the WSCSU board for a few years. I don't know how many years, quite a few years actually. And I enjoy doing it, and I have the time to do it, and it's,
Okay. I guess I would be next. I've only been on that I've been to quite a few meetings over the years, but I think I've only been officially on it since last fall. I guess when I took over as board chair, I took David's, kind of slid into that spot too. And I am happy to continue to do it, but if there are others that are interested and want to step up, I certainly don't have any problem with that. I think I have enough things to do at this point, but I would be happy to serve again.
Shall I go next?
Sure, we'll just work our way around.
Okay, I've been on the SU board for 2 years. I enjoyed the process. I kind of got a broader view of how the whole thing works. I appreciated that. I'm actually not going to be the representative on Putney Board any longer. We had another volunteer that is from the Finance Committee, and we thought that that was a good fit for that to follow, for that place to follow. And I guess that's it.
Okay.
I've been on for a handful of years as well, both from the town board and from here. I've also been on the representative of the Finance Committee from here. And you are you still, you're not going to be the Finance Committee?
No.
Okay. So, I mean, in the past, from the prior board, I mean, there have been times where I've been the finance person and not on the voting board. So, I mean, that's a possibility to split that. Because, this board, I mean, you're making the jump is nice in that it represents the 5 towns, and so does the SU, both the Finance Committee and the, so, I'd be happy to have you be the voting member if you want to keep that connection.
I like it, but we'll have to let the people speak.
Okay, so I guess we will vote for 3. Okay, so let's see, well, I'll just read it the way I have it listed here. How many for Ruth? Okay, that.
And just like Ruth abstains.
Well, Ruth,
Yes.
vote. Okay, all right. For Russ?
I get
Side negotiations going on over here. Okay, you get that? Everybody's hands still up?
I got 5. Yep.
Okay. Melanie? Oh, no, not a runoff. I know, I'm coming to that. And
Yes.
for Robert?
Can't you vote for 3? Or was
Yeah, you vote for 3.
Yeah.
You have to vote
I
for
voted
3.
I'm not going to vote for myself.
Oh, then there's
Close.
runoff.
Morse didn't do it by runoff.
Oh, then.
Then you get 5. Okay.
So we got 5 votes for everybody, is that
For
all?
Woody and for Russ, Melanie has 7 and Ruth has 8.
Okay. All right.
We have to get speeches.
Do you want to do rock, paper, scissors?
Good.
Acrobatics.
I mean, is there a tradition, I mean, of the chair being on?
Not
Is there?
necessarily, but.
Should there be?
And they're not necessarily, I don't feel the need to be, there's certain things that probably I would be involved in at the SCSU level anyway. So, whatever the, I'm fine with whatever the sense of the board is. So, do we want to have a runoff election between the 2 of us, or would you like me to concede the race? I can do that.
I can see too, we can also have a permanent alternate, which sometimes is
Yeah.
helpful to have. So I think we're both beyond the book one.
A permanent alternate, okay. All right, well, in that case, I would withdraw my candidacy. And if elected, I will not serve. If nominated, I will not run. Who said that?
Is that
Who was that?
One of those.
OBJ.
Yeah,
OBJ.
OBJ, yeah. All right, so I will be the last alternative.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, next is to establish meeting days and times. For quite a long time, at least as long as I've been involved, we've been on the first and third Monday at 7 p.m. And I think people have kind of learned to coordinate their schedules accordingly. And Ruth?
I move that our meeting day and time be the first and third Mondays at 7 p.m.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meetings will remain first and third Mondays. And in the instances where there's holidays, we usually make a choice as it comes up, whether we're going to not need a meeting or move it to a Tuesday or whatever. We have a couple of those.
Holiday/school vacation.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And typically in the summer, we skip at least one meeting. There's not as much stuff going on. I think generally we've done 1 July and 1 August, depending on what's going on. So, but we'll work that out and get a little further down the road. Okay. As far as new committees go, we have, and I think I talked to both Mike and Melanie, that we have essentially 5 committees, and with some new folks, we have to do a little moving around, and there may be some incumbents who wish to change committees, and I don't think we will go through the whole procedure here now, but I guess I would like people to give it some thought, and we'll touch base here over the next few days. The Finance Committee, at this point, has Ruth, Lori, and myself. We should have at least 4 on that committee. That committee generally meets, it's usually the Wednesday after the board meeting, and it's typically at 7:45 in the central office. So I'll go through the committees and when they typically meet and who's currently incumbent.
That's in the morning.
What's that?
7:45 a.m.
7:48 by the AM,
Right,
yes.
because 7:45 p.m. is too close to bedtime for some of us. TCC, Ruth, Ricky chairs it, Russ, Sean, and Ian. That's pretty much people that have been on the board for a while, but that's not to say somebody might want to make a change. We certainly would consider that.
What does that stand for?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Teacher Curriculum Committee.
Okay.
And do you want to give a brief, just say what?
The Teacher Curriculum Committee, a couple of things that we do is we approve 1% funding for the faculty primarily from the high school. We also look at new programs and new educational opportunities and what those look like. And throughout the course of the year, we get reports back on the 1% funds from the faculty about what's going on, what they're doing, those kinds of things. And typically, we meet the first and third Mondays, usually at 6 or 6:15. One Monday it's at 6, one Monday it's at 6:15, depending on the day for the day.
PM.
PM. Did before this meeting, essentially.
Not AM.
Not AM.
Okay.
And is that short numbers at this point?
Nope. At this point, unless somebody that's currently on it wants to leave, it's and for both Melanie and Mike, any committee, any board member can go to any of the meetings. So if you're interested,
Thank you.
you can go to any of those meetings. So.
Anybody can attend all meetings
Yeah.
if they want. Next is planning, which at this point is chaired by Ian and has Ian, Sean, and Ricky. That committee has had 4. Mary Ann Gardner was on it, and I think times in the past it's possibly had 3. But you want to just talk a little bit about what you do and when you meet, Ian?
Well, we meet before TCC meets once a month, or as needed. We'll meet on the other one. Mostly what we do is review policies as they come up for regular review, see if there's any changes that need to be made, and then present them to the board as a whole.
So it's basically policy work.
Okay. Then we have the famous BAMS committee. And as of now, let's see, we have Lori, these are my notes that we've had. Lori, you're on that now, right? And Ricky and Russ is an alternate, right? Okay. So we would probably want to have one more person on BAMS. Who's chair?
Yeah,
Chair?
let's handle attention over here.
You got a volunteer?
Vernon's one of them.
Yeah, typically the BAMS committee, because it deals with the 2 towns that send students to BAMS, is usually the Vernon representative is automatically on the committee, and then at least 2 members from Brattleboro. So it's usually at least 3, 4 would be nice, but at least 3 of us. So from Brattleboro and Vernon. And we meet, we switched our meeting times. We're going to be meeting on the 2nd Monday of the month at 7:30 in the morning in BAMS in the conference rooms.
Okay. And then we have the Career Center WRCC committee. And at this point, myself and Ruth are on that. We would like to get one more member. I have asked Ruth if she would be willing to. This is a committee that hasn't been around that long. We've got less than a year probably that we posted. Yeah. And I have kind of been the ad hoc chair, but I am perfectly happy not to be. And Ruth said that she was willing to chair that committee. But we will be looking for one more member. And that committee has generally met. Is there a system that are basically in terms? It's during the middle of the day, but
We try to meet in the morning.
no, I
really,
most of the morning.
yeah. We would try.
I'm thinking of the RAB that meets in the middle of the day.
Yeah, we would meet at the will of the members, at their availability.
We haven't had enough meetings to really establish an exact
Pattern.
Thursday type.
We're trying to find something that works for us.
Right, that's right.
I would be
So,
interested in doing that.
okay,
I don't live in Pratt, so it would be only.
well, but the Career Center concerns itself with all the surrounding towns.
I know, I'm just talking about meetings.
From getting there.
Yeah, just,
Meetings.
I work in Putney, live in Putney.
It's nebulous, don't worry.
Well, it's not a huge number of meetings.
Is it once a
4 or
month?
5 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Then at this point, I guess, right now, negotiations committees are not an issue. Classified is pretty well wrapped up, and the SESU Association is good for now. Let's see, we got the voting members.
There's the finance, the SU finance.
SU Finance, yes. Oh, I'm an alternate on that too. I didn't even write. You're the main person on that, and you would be willing to continue on that? Okay, and I guess I will be willing to continue as alternate.
May I ask a question about
Yeah.
that? Is there a difference in terminology of the finance committee and the finance committee?
Yeah.
Just
The
wondering.
SU finance is WSESU, so we look
Yeah.
at special ed and the district-wide programs. The BUHS finance committee is signing the warrants and specifically, well, I served on it for a little while. It's BUHS and BAMS and the university.
And so warrants don't get signed at these meetings?
No.
Right.
No, they get signed by the BUHS finance committee.
Okay.
So it's different than the town
Yeah.
boards.
It is different.
I'm
It's not
remiss
the
at
SU
not explaining that committee. Basically, as I said, we meet usually the Wednesday after our board meetings, sign and review the warrants ahead of time because they're emailed to us. We review the warrants. We also, if there are specific projects that need to be done, either requiring capital monies or unusual expenses that may still be within budget, we're going to report on a couple of those projects today. We concern ourselves with that. We manage the Eames Scholarship Fund with recommendations, obviously, from administration. That's a sizable scholarship fund that we make a determination every year how much we can award. We review the snowplow contract when it comes up. We review the food service contract when it comes up, and other issues that fall under the realm of budgeting and finance. And we meet in the central office with Jim Kane usually. And that one does have pretty regular meetings. There's not too many times we don't have 2 a month of those, and some extra ones. At budgeting time, the Finance Committee leads the charge in the budgeting process. So the last half of November and December, there are quite a few meetings. We ask and invite all board members to be part of that, but don't expect the entire board to be at every budget meeting. But
Is that 7:45 a.m.?
the Finance Committee is, yes. Yep. So I've got some names written down here. We are going to need to get at least one more person on the Finance Committee. So think it over, and if there's anybody that would really like to switch that's been on the board for a while, would rather be on finance than something else, let me know. We'll try to get it sorted out as soon as possible. Okay. As we move on to the clerk's report, and we'll start with the approval of minutes from March 5th.
I moved the minutes of March 5th.
I second.
Okay. All right. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes of March 5th, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Abstentions?
Here.
Right there. Okay. I'll use. Okay. Communications. Anybody have any communications? Okay, we do not have that. Recognition of groups and individuals. I don't see anyone from the public here. We'll move into consent agenda, if there's a motion to do so.
I move we enter consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. We start first with finance.
Okay, finance, unfortunately was the morning after town meeting, so we automatically at town meeting lost 2 finance committee members. And we ended up with only Mr. Woodworth and myself at finance. We became the Bob and Ruth show with Jim Kane, and so we were unable to approve any warrants. However, we did have a nice discussion on a couple of items, talking about the friolators at the Colonel's Den, which apparently is a small eatery at the football field.
Yes, down in the back. Past the
Okay.
football field. In football and baseball, actually.
And how that they don't meet safety and compliance codes, and we need to install an approved fire suppression system in the Colonel's Den prior to their use in the future. The estimated cost for the fire suppression system is $6,500. And they're requesting us to approve a sum not to exceed $7,500 for the purchase and installation of fire suppression this spring. The other item that we talked about was providing professional contracted services relating to the bleacher project for logistics, planning, and specifications of all code and ADA compliance. And we discussed that as well, but as I said, there were only 2 members of the committee there, so we were unable to make any decisions.
I'll flesh that out a little bit. There's some.
I think you know more about bleachers and
There's
friolators
yet
than
another
I do,
item that's
Bob.
come up in the interim, but Ricky, you have it.
Well, I'm just, the question about the Colonel's Den and the firelater system, I'm just curious. Is not the Colonel's Den operated and owned by the Booster Club? Or do we own it and they run it?
We own the Colonel's Den. It
Okay.
was, and its genesis came when they did the stadium lighting. They had money left over, and they built the Colonel's Den out of that fund, but we do own it.
Oh, okay. I know that they run it usually.
They run it, they paint it,
Yeah.
but we have responsibility.
Okay, so I just wasn't sure where the ownership lied, and I was
Yeah.
clarifying.
And the proceeds, where do they go?
They go to the Booster Club, so the profit goes to the Booster Club, which they.
How much they make a year?
They don't, but they turn that money back into to the students.
Well, let me add a couple of points to this. Number one is, first off, for the friolator work, that is money that is within the current year's operating budget. So in essence, we're not being asked to approve additional monies. It's more to inform and ask for the blessing of the board to do the project. We have little choice. It's a safety issue, has been for some time, and we really need to do it. And it can be done within this year's budgeted funds.
For Colonel Stone.
What's that?
This year's funds that are designated for the Colonel Stone.
Within this year's operations and maintenance budget.
Oh.
You know, we have a whole unit operations and maintenance budget, so it's not going to detract from any other aspects of operations and maintenance. As it relates to the professional services for the bleacher project, we approved at the meeting, the annual meeting, $250,000 for renovation and moving of the south bleachers. As part of this, it was planned, budgeted, that we would have some professional guidance in this work. And some of this has happened since our meeting, Ruth, so it may sound fresh to you. But,
New information.
Robert Clerk is the Director of Maintenance and Operations. He had requested that we work with one particular professional who specializes in this. When that individual provided us with bids, they were quite high. The bid was $10,000 for planning and specifications and another $10,000 for overseeing, for a total of $20,000. At that point, we began to look elsewhere. There are not a lot of operations that people would do this work, but Stevens and Associates, a local engineering firm, has given us a quote of $8,100 for the same, both planning and site specifications and overseeing the project. Once again, this is within the $250,000 that we voted on for this project. So again, it's an informational for the record, but you know, if there are any issues, we certainly would listen to them. But it is all within the budgeted amount. There's one other item that just came up. Actually, it's been discussed before, but there was originally in this year's plan a proposed renovation of the practice fields to allow more space for the practice field. We decided that we needed to spend some more time studying that, and we pulled it from the capital request of $481,000 for next year's capital project. However, there are still some issues that need to be dealt with, and one of them is the close confinement where you have, and I was out there today, I went out and observed, there were 2 tennis teams practicing, there were 2 lacrosse teams practicing, and there was the track team practicing, all overlapping, and then you've got the different levels of all these things, and it was like a 3-ring circus out there. What they are proposing to do is to purchase a netting system which would go on the football/lacrosse field at the ends to protect the people who are competing in pole vault and high jump down on the other end from getting whacked in the head by a lacrosse ball going at 95 miles an hour. And it would be a system that is portable, not a bunch of telephone poles stuck in the ground and permanent mounting. It would be a portable system that could be used as protection for other things. And they went out and got some bids. Again, this is something that not every company in the world does, but they found a nice portable system that is going to be about $6,000. Again, utilizing funds from within the athletic budget, if I'm not mistaken. So certainly until we get to the point where we do expand practice fields, we do have to protect student athletes from each other. And I asked if this would keep the javelin in place, but it's not designed to hold back the javelin, but there are other plans to make sure that doesn't become an issue. But until we get the decide to move ahead with practice field expansion, it really is tight quarters for a lot of teams. With school getting over at 3:20 now, there's a compressed time between the end of school and the end of light as well. So it's a juggling act at best. So again, this will be done strictly from funds that are within the budget, right?
Also,
Yeah.
the middle school teams haven't started out there yet.
Right. Well, right, so you've got all the middle school teams. Tonight, when I was coming in here, I went over to take a look and talk with Chris Sawyer, and the varsity was hiking up from Fort Dummer, because that's where they had to go to get some field space. It's tight. So, Ruth?
Well, just for clarification on this, on the bleacher project, the
Yeah.
supervision and so forth, is it my understanding that Stevenson Associates is willing to do both halves of that for the 8,100
Yes.
total,
Yes,
as opposed to 20,000 for
Yes.
the other?
yes.
Okay, and I did get the email about the netting just before I came.
Yeah, it was kind of, well, I heard about it a little earlier, and then I made it a point to go take, so I could visualize, and I had Chris show me where, I wasn't quite sure where they're planning to put it, but basically on both ends of the football field, and it'll wrap around a bit, so, you know, they're shooting at goals on each end, and the ball is going out across the track, people are running around the track, and lacrosse balls can bounce across the track at the same time.
And that's, the money for that is in the 2012 budget.
Well, no, it's in that $250,000.
Oh, it's in the
capital.
it's in the
Right.
250,000.
Capital plan for
Okay.
that project.
Okay,
So.
all right.
It's no additional money.
Okay.
None of these things are any additional monies other than what have already been approved. It's just so the board is aware when there's something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, I guess.
I wasn't sure whether it was from the 250,000 or if it was
Right.
from money that we have already in the 2012 budget somewhere.
No, that would be part of the,
Part of
the
the-
Stevens thing would be part of the project.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right.
Oh,
The netting
yeah.
would be part of our budgeted funds, and as would be the third item, what was the first one?
Okay, well, I'm sorry, it was the netting that I was inquiring whether it was coming from the 2012 budget or the 2013 budget.
2012, I would say. That's where we were,
Yes.
the current budget. Yes.
Right. Current
So,
budget.
so that means that if we approve this, we can get it right away
Well,
and
these
get it.
things, yeah, all of these things need to be acted on. I mean, by administration, need to be started,
Yes,
so. Right.
okay.
Is this going to be a vote for us or for the finance committee?
Well, this is really
Is it usually?
for the record, here's what administration is doing. And that's why I keep clarifying that it's money that we've already approved in their budget theoretically.
But you're not looking for a vote?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No.
The other question I had on the fry later is, what does the fry later fry? Is it just fries, or is this the whole thing where burgers and
It
hot dogs?
fries all kinds of goodness. You know, whatever they make. I think
Is that
they-
an oxymoron?
It is. They make. I mean, they do French fries. They do.
Yeah.
I think they do mozzarella sticks. Whatever they have available, really. So right now what they're doing is they're having to move the fry layers outside the kernel stand, and so they're actually moving big tubs of hot oil outside. And then I think when it rains, they hold an umbrella over them.
Oh, my.
So it's really kind of a real tough. I think they might have put up a tarp this year, but so it's a tough situation. The other piece of that though is electrical, because over the years, you know, when they ran the electricity, they just put in a couple of plugs and called it good. And so right now we've got a pretty impressive warren of cords snaking through the roof. So part of that money, in addition to the fry layers, is also going to go towards bringing it up to electrical code.
And the Ansel system.
And the Ansel system as
Right,
well.
right. Fire suppression.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, that was somewhat long-winded, but hopefully explanatory. Anything else for finance?
I don't think so. Can you think of anything else that we talked
I
about?
had enough trouble thinking of all three things after we talked about them. I couldn't remember what the first one was. No, I don't have anything else. Our next finance meeting will be this Wednesday at 7:45.
I'm planning on that.
Yeah, so we'll have at least a threesome. Good. Okay. We did have some warrants, right?
Well, we couldn't approve warrants.
That's right, we didn't approve any. They will get passed on, and there were 2 payrolls as well that have to
Yeah.
go on. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Planning and policy.
Has not met since our last meeting. We will be meeting before the next one.
Okay. All right. TCC, Teacher Curriculum Committee.
Has not met since our last meeting. Our next meeting will be the first Monday in April.
Okay. All right. BAMS Committee.
Has not met since our last meeting.
Okay. WRCC Committee.
Has not met. We are planning to meet next week,
The 29th at 8 o'clock.
next Thursday, the 29th, at 8 a.m.
Okay. Is there anything else for a consent agenda? Okay. Move to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Got it, Jane? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? None? Okay. Move on to administrative reports. Why don't we start with Dave? So we make sure you remember to tell us about the RAB in case I forget this.
Good thing I remembered it wasn't on my list, so I better do that. I'll start with it. All right, the Regional Advisory Board of the Women Regional Career Center will meet tomorrow at noon at Austin School. And there are certain board members that come to that on a regular basis, but like any other public meeting, anybody's kind of welcome at any time. The reason for the advisory committee is really it's the policy setting group for the career centers. It's by state law, there's an advisory board that consists of members of the school boards of all of our schools that we serve and the superintendents of those schools. And they basically set the policies, and then you folks do the governance on this side. It's a system that's worked pretty well for us over the years. We're announcing, or not announcing, we talked about the fact that the WRCC dance students have recently returned from the National High School Dance Festival. This year, I believe, was in Philadelphia. They've been going this for a number of years. We've always been fairly successful at it. During the festival, they've been able to participate in various competitions and master classes. And it usually results, and did again this year, of students being offered opportunities to attend various summer dance programs in schools all over the country, and offered scholarships to a lot of the prestigious dance programs around the country. So, and again, I don't have the details of what got what, but they all kind of walked back with things in their hand going. And it was pretty exciting. So they were there. At the end of the month, our FBLA will be going to Burlington to the annual state conference up there. They're having a great year. We have about 45 members this year.
What's the FBLA?
FBLA, yeah.
What is that?
FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. They're going to, there'll be various competitions and workshops up there to attend. And we also understand that President Obama is in town at the same time as that conference. They're staying in the hotel. I understand there's going to be an opportunity for a very short meeting, but who knows how that's really going to work out there. I'd like to just hand this out, and this is a poor, because it came off a color and not a black and white copier. It's kind of a poor representation of what we're really talking about. But WRCC, like many organizations nowadays, has a blog. Our blog has been really in operation since just around Christmas time. We're pretty proud of it. It's available to anybody that has good internet service or not getting anywhere on the internet. You find it by typing into your search browser, search engine, wrccbtblog.com. What you're seeing here is the first page. It goes on for many pages. And we're very proud of this because what we're seeing is students are taking a lot of ownership in the blog, and they're using it to communicate what they've been doing. And it's a really good recruiting tool for us. And at the same time, it's a great tool for all of you to see what's going on at the Career Center at any given time. So the blog is out there. If you look at the resource section of this, we also have a Facebook page that's associated with the blog. You can go to Facebook and look up Women Regional Career Center and see our Facebook page. That is linked to the blog. Sometimes there's the same entry there, sometimes there's different stuff in that. And you'll get a chance to see what people are saying about the Career Center. We also have a, I'm going to get this right, photo account. I'll never get these right. I'm still hopelessly stuck in the 20th century. I'll never get it. It's not Twitter, it's Flickr. Yes, that's it. It's one of those. We have a Flickr account where a lot of photos are placed, and we have a YouTube channel. And that's right now is the weak part of the whole system. You know, getting kids to write the articles and do pictures and whatnot have been fairly good. Getting them to do good videos has been a little on the rough side. We're getting there. So, you know, take a look at that, please. The other thing, if you're on your computer or your mobile phone and you're so inclined and want to find the weather, I'd recommend that you look up WeatherBug. It's a system of 8,000 different weather stations set up all over the world. The vast majority here in the United States. Women Regional Career Center became a WeatherBug school just after Christmas, I believe. So we are now probably the most efficient, best, accurate weather forecast for the Brattleboro area. Right here on our campus, there's a live picture being broadcast from the TIC at any given time from there. So if you wake up and you want to find out what the weather's like, take a look at the picture, you'll kind of know. And we'll be able to use this site here for some of our programs, more of the natural resources programs, which tend to have an interest in the weather. We've also had several of the elementary schools begin to take notice of what we've got. There's a really great archive section for the whole thing where you can access the weather data for all of these weather stations all over the world, so you can really check into that. And there's a section that they call a Achieve, where students and teachers from our district will be able to access the data from all over the world and kind of take a look at what other people are doing in some activities. And the last thing is we're going to be able to use that as a lightning alert system. So folks that we're within our area right here, if they're out in the fields participating in athletics, the coaches and athletic directors will be able to get a warning if there's a lightning strike within 6 miles of the area. So we should give them some advance notice and help them keep in line with the various requirements of getting out of the field when there's lightning in the area. So that's my report for today.
Great. Cool stuff. Might as well move down the line and we'll do student council and follow you.
Sure. As Woody pointed out, we started spring sports. Tryouts are in full swing. We have a lot of hopes for our athletes, and of course, a lot of people are hoping for a third consecutive girls softball championship. I hope I didn't jinx it, but we're hoping. Along those same lines, Chris Surr and I met with the Booster Club last week to talk about things like the Colonel's Den, and one thing we talked a lot about was how do we articulate the role of the administration in the school with the role of the Boosters Club. We're going to keep working on that. We kind of had a preliminary conversation. We're going to continue to talk about that and kind of develop so we can better serve our athletes. I did find out that the Colonel Pride Dinner, which was hugely successful this year, is set for September 29th. September 29th, that is also homecoming weekend this year, this upcoming year. It was a great success last year, and I hope board members can join us for that. In terms of music, we hosted the 25th annual All-District Band Night on March 13th. It was a great success. It included workshops for elementary students and a joint concert that features bands from all of our sending schools. And Mr. Rice reported that was a great success. The band, jazz band, and workshop will have their March concert on Wednesday the 21st, which is this Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And the Madrigals will have their March concert on the 29th in the auditorium. We had parent conferences last week. They were fairly well attended. We're noticing some changing in demographics as the parent portal for PowerSchool comes online. We're finding more and more parents come in and they already know their child's grade up to date to that day if the teachers updated it. That's changing kind of how we think about progress reports and parent conferences in general. I did have a couple of parents who raised their concerns about the arena system we use for parent conferences, that everybody stands in line and waits. So we're going to look at some other models that we can do to serve parents in that regard, maybe using technology to have parents go online to sign up for dates and times rather than doing it the way we do now, which is show up and find a short line. I did see two parents. It was great. One was in the cafeteria, or one was in the gymnasium, one was in the socialized hallway, and they were texting each other about the length of the lines, which I thought was a wonderful use of technology. Last Thursday, Brattleboro Union High School was inducted into the League of Innovative Schools in Montpelier, Vermont. That gets us access to like-minded schools that are looking for flexible pathways for graduation, looking for innovative ways to structure school and offerings, and to work more closely with career and technical centers. And speaking of inductions, next Tuesday, the 27th, we will induct 12 students into the Mary Dane Henshaw National Honor Society. It would be great if somebody could join us for that. It's a very nice ceremony, and that is at 6:30.
When is that again, Steve?
Tuesday, the 27th,
At 7:30?
6:30
PM.
p.m. Yes. So,
And 12 students, you said?
yes.
Where will that be held?
I believe it's in the BAM's multi-purpose room. That's where it's been for the past several years. That's right. As Ingrid pointed out, that's where these inductees got their start. She doesn't remember elementary school, apparently. So, and I know you're going to talk about math later on, so.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Council.
yeah, we have a couple of things. Our survey about how the time change has affected people went out, and we have the results. We're going to study them a little bit more, but there is support of changing back.
Yeah, so we're not exactly prepared to release the details yet. So
You kind of just did. The details.
the details. There is definitely some support, but we may end up developing a PowerPoint that just kind of breaks down the demographics in support and not in support of changing the time. And a new thing that we started working on is working more closely with Mr. Perrin about possible changes to the electronic policy in school. We may be loosening up some of the restrictions, not drastically, but in ways that we all feel is necessary for the new digital age. And yeah, that seems to be it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, Ingrid.
Okay, let's see. We had our March concert last week on the 15th, and it was phenomenal. I don't know if any board members were able to attend, but
It was
do you agree, wasn't it? Yeah, it's hard to believe they're middle schoolers playing. Yeah. The audience was very appreciative, very full auditorium, and they were just fantastic. And that followed our annual exploratory open house, which preceded it that same evening. And we always invite the 6th grade parents and students to come to that exploratory open house. It's their first transitional opportunity, and we had many 6th grade parents and families come this year. I have the data, I just don't have it with me, but we did sign-ups, and it's very well attended overall. It went very well. This is our transition season, and we have a series of events planned. Our large meeting with 6th grade parents is coming up on Thursday evening, April 5th at 7 p.m. A letter has gone home to 6th grade families with details about all of the events that are to occur, giving parents an opportunity to send in a profile sheet on each child, which we collect, and we use that data to help us on the day that we call the big sort, and that's when students get divided into one of two teams next year, Team Leo or Team Draco. But our goal that day, and it takes an entire day, is to create 2 equally balanced teams in every way, academically, socially, emotionally, behaviorally, and our 2 counselors lead that effort and work with 2 teachers, 1 from each team, and they do an amazing job every year creating balance. It takes all day for that to happen. But the profile sheets that the parents submit are very useful to us in that process as well. Speaking of counselors, Mrs. Sullivan gave birth to a little boy on the 15th. His name is Grady Patrick Sullivan, 9-pound baby, and as you've seen Mrs. Sullivan, she's a little tiny thing, but they're all doing great. Molly Falk is our interim counselor, has been on board with us now for a couple of weeks, and she's stepping right in and doing a terrific job as well. This Friday is early release for students. The afternoon is in-service time for teachers. BAM's teachers will be working together in teams on their interdisciplinary integrated units and also on curriculum mapping. On Monday, all day in service for teachers, no school for students. We have our 2nd year of Keys to Vocabulary training. We've been involved with this company, Keys to Literacy, for 4 years now. We did 2 years of reading comprehension training for all teachers, and we're now into vocabulary. Our approach is that literacy strategies will be integrated into every subject area, regardless of what a teacher teaches: PE, health, art, and of course the traditionals, English language arts and math and social studies. This training is designed for secondary level teachers, middle school, to help them learn how to integrate good literacy strategies into all subject areas. And it's working. It's our kneecap scores this year shows that it is working. 80% of our student body is proficient or proficient with distinction. And that was a jump from last year. It's been a jump every year. We are working to redesign our master schedule for next year. In that redesign, we have a 30-minute lunch period for middle schoolers. It's been 24 minutes for as long as I've been affiliated with BAMS. 30 minutes for middle schoolers to sit in the cafeteria is an inordinately long time. Our goal is not to have them sit there. We intend to build in at least a 10-minute recess time as a given to that lunch period. We take them out now in good weather like today and last week. We take them over to the tennis courts and we get to run around and just move, and they really do need that. So our goal is to standardize that in the future and intentionally build in 10 minutes of recess into both grades' lunch periods.
In addition to the 24? Or?
They'll have 20, the whole period will be 30. the
Oh,
lunch
okay.
period, and
You're
of
not
that 30.
taking it all out of the 24 and just making 14 with it.
No, although they don't need more than 14 to eat. They pretty much inhale, but they're going to have 20 in the cafeteria and 10 outside in good weather. Bad weather, they'll be in the gym. Yeah.
Does everyone eat lunch at the same time, Amber?
I'm sorry?
Does everyone eat lunch at the same time?
No, 7th grade, the two teams eat at one time, and then 8th grade, the two teams at a different time. Yeah. We need a track coach. Our spring sports season has started as well with sign-ups on Friday, and we are desperately seeking a track coach. So if you know anybody who might be interested, she could give me a call, and I'll connect that person with Kevin Mayette, our athletic director.
Is that being advertised?
It's been advertised, yep. We've had the same coach for many years, and she just can't do it this year for a lot of good other reasons. So we do need somebody.
Does there seem to be a reason that you have identified that no one's come forward?
People are busy. I think it's really that more than anything. We just learned not too long ago that we didn't have a coach, so we didn't have a long lead time to people make plans. We offer baseball, softball, lacrosse, and track and field as spring sports for middle schoolers. The lacrosse is flowing through our BEAMS program, and the others are flowing through our interscholastic program. And I guess the only other thing is next year will be the year that elementary students will be coming to us with having had 5 or 6 years of foreign language instruction in the elementary schools in Brattleboro town, essentially. And they will have had either French or Spanish for 5 or 6 years. It means that our foreign language program is by necessity changing to accommodate the fact that we are now receiving children who have been exposed to a language for that many years. So we're going through a process of looking at offerings, and we think we've landed on a model. We're going to meet with the 2 elementary foreign language teachers in another 2 weeks, a week and a half of this, and discuss our program offerings with them and hear from them what their curriculum has been during the time that they've been teaching. So that will, as I say, create some changes for us as well. And I guess that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Ingrid? Okay, central office runs in here. Was there anything passed along by way of you? Okay. Board chairs report. I just would like to talk a little bit about what's going on up in the legislature and the State House. I think most of you are probably getting the emails from the VSBA on some of the legislation that's being considered. And I would encourage you to weigh in on this with your representatives. I'm not encouraging you to weigh in any particular way, but take a look at particularly H440, which is a House bill that would revise how the State Board of Education is set up, and that would be a government-appointed position of the Education Commissioner reporting to the Governor, and the role of the State Board of Education would change. The School Board Association has expressed some concerns about that, and I think they were pointed out in their emails. That's a bill that's in progress. There is also S-137, which is referred to as the Omnibus Labor Bill. In there are some provisions regarding agency fees and so forth. So I encourage you to take a look at that one. And then the third item is not a legislative item at this point. However, I think many of you probably saw the article in the Reformer last week, state favors new school math requirements. And the governor's office has proposed that starting in the fall, the math curriculum would be such that all ninth graders would take algebra and by 10th grade geometry. Brattleboro is one of many schools at this point that does not have that requirement. You have 3 math courses are the
require 3
requirement?
math courses.
Okay. When I read this article, the idea and the theory behind this, strengthening math, is great. My concern was by next fall, in that we're already into scheduling. So I was concerned about that. I have found out that tomorrow the State Board of Education meets. The governor is planning to attend that meeting and pitch this program. I'm not quite sure what the reaction of the state board will be, but I know, at least on the part of some members, there is concern about rolling something out so fast. That it's a great idea to strengthen our math training. However, it may not be appropriate just to ram a program in for the fall. So that's more to come on that. I think after the state board meets tomorrow, there probably will be a reaction to the governor's proposal. I know that already BUHS, moving quickly when things happen, has given some consideration to it, how we would work it into our program. And we appreciate that you're being forward thinking about it. But at this point, the timing issue is still up in the air, I think, a little bit.
Is there an actual bill number attached to that, or is that?
No, this is kind of in some ways came out of left field, but it was Armando Villaseca, who's the education commissioner, and Peter Shumlin, and it came as a result of the standardized testing results that there was concern about. And I guess it was not generally known that not every school requires calculus and
Yeah, they expressed some
algebra
and
geometry.
Yeah, they expressed dismay, I think, that it was only like 34%
Right.
of Vermont high schools required that.
Right.
Is that somewhat accurate?
Yeah, it
47 or
actually
something?
mentions the percentage, 47%,
Yeah.
and only 31% require geometry. So, a little bit perhaps overreacting time-wise, but I'm sure there will be more to come from this. Lori?
So just for clarification, we currently require 3, but not any 3 specific?
Well, we have 3 tracks of math right now. We have an accelerated track, which is accelerated algebra 1, accelerated geometry, accelerated algebra 2. That can then lead to accelerated pre-calculus and AP calculus. The middle track is a traditional algebra, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus or statistics track. And then the third track is Math 9, Math 10, which are for students who were not proficient on their 8th grade kneecaps. The concern with that is that we're choosing for the students. That's one concern. The other concern is that those students in Math 9, Math 10 don't get access to the rest of the curriculum. And so that's a valid concern, that they don't get the chance. They get the chance, but by the time they're 11th graders, they're not going to have taken geometry and algebra 2. So there's some concern that limits what they can do after high school as well. We talked last year about implementing algebra for everybody. That conversation's happened again this year. I would think we're gonna do it at some point, but as Woody said, you know, doing it next year is, we can do it, but it's gonna be tougher to do it next year. Because we need to get some training for our teachers, and some time to talk to our 7th and 8th grade schools as well. That would be very helpful to have that.
So,
When did you get rid of the imp program, or did that just go by the wayside?
It went by the lack of enrollment, it just kind of faded away.
would that be getting rid of the option for freshmen to take geometry and just skip algebra, or?
No, that would still be an option. Yeah. So we have 8th graders right now that are taking accelerated algebra 1 here at the high school. So next year, as 9th graders, they'll take geometry.
Right.
So that's just FYI, it's good to follow the legislature this time of year. Some of the bills have been under discussion for a while. Sometimes they tend to things get thrown into these omnibus bills, and always pays attention. And the School Board Association does a good job of keeping track and weighing in on those issues. Okay. Board, I think we've covered everybody who's reported. And we move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? We have nothing on the agenda that I see. Then we move to new business. And we have, for the first time in a long time, an Act 250 impact questionnaire. Did you have that, have you? Okay.
It's a standard impact questionnaire about do we have the capacity to handle the influx of employees. That would be 10 to 15 employees, they estimate. Do our schools have the capacity to handle those additional students? If not, what would we do to address that? I think we do have the capacity to handle that influx. And it's criterion 6 of under the Act 250 impact, which is educational services. So,
And this is for the Aldi supermarket?
Yes.
Which is proposing to put a market in the where the cinemas were on Putney Road.
So that would be 10 to 15 new students at the high school?
No, 10 to 15 employees, 3 to 4 employees per shift for a total of 10 to 15 new employees there. They're not saying that they'd all have children in our schools.
K to 12, perhaps.
But it's a capacity question.
Well, I didn't know Act 250 had such long range.
Far-reaching.
Yeah, but, I thought it was just, whether the landmass could hold a structure or something.
Well, for those of us who would like to see the grand list improve in Brattleboro, it's nice to see one of these once in a while. And I think since I've been, it's probably been 4 or 5 in the 8 or 9 years I've been going. I don't know if you remember more than that, Ruth, which isn't a whole lot. And in every case, administrators have made it clear that we can absorb the capacity.
Yes.
And we can.
So if the school couldn't handle it, they couldn't build it, the supermarket couldn't build it?
Well, as Steve said, the other part is what is your plan to...
Right. If we answered that no, we don't have the capacity, then we're asked the next question, what plans are in place to correct the problem? So.
And theoretically, I mean, if IBM decided to move down here next week, it might be an issue, but I think we would find a way.
I don't know if we even veto power. I mean, it's just we make a recommendation to the Act 250 board. It's my assumption.
Right. What we do,
But
what they're asking us to do is make a motion and approve it that the construction project of the Aldi department store, not department store, it's a supermarket, will not have a deleterious effect on the student ability to handle students here at the high school, or some. It's been so long since we've done one, I don't remember the wording that we used to come up with.
Are they taking into consideration all the businesses that leave?
Well, yeah, can we handle that?
They're not saying about that.
Yeah, they don't talk about that at all. It's only when they come in.
Right. So, is there a motion? Ruth?
I move that we find that the Aldi supermarket project will not have a deleterious effect on Brattleboro Union High School District Number 6.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, you handled that. So one other item, and this was put on the, oh, we have one more. Okay, well, there are two other items. First is board education, not board of education, but board education. A while back, we got started with a once a month board education piece to our regular board meetings. And at the time, I thought that was pretty good. And I've been on the board for a few years, but I still learned we'd have presentations. I think we were rotating, and Ingrid's probably the only one that remembers this. We were rotating from BAMS to Career Center to high school, and maybe central office was included. And I guess what happened, of course, we get into budget season the next year, and all of a sudden that kind of went out the window because budget occupies all our thoughts. But I would like to see us reestablish that. I mean, there are quite a few, there's some brand new board members, there are some that have been on a few years, and there are some and I'll admit to being one of them, there's certain things that I just don't know that awfully much about. And so I think that it's appropriate use of time. Our meetings have been fairly brief. I mean, it's great we accomplish our business and we get done, and I'm not expecting that we're going to spend a lot of time sitting around until the wee hours of the morning, but I think a 10 or 15 minute presentation. We also have occasionally presentations from the kids who made trips, which I assume we may have again. But under that general umbrella of board education, I would like to see us step that up again a little bit. It's been a couple of years since I think we've really done much along those lines. So I will, Lori?
With that being said, I know we already approved the start time of the meetings of 7 o'clock, but would there be any consideration to maybe starting the meetings just a little bit earlier if we're going to have a new component or a resurrected component, 6:30, 6:45?
Ruth?
The problem with that is that we have committee meetings before the board meetings.
That's true.
And sometimes we just barely squeak out at the end of our committee meeting before the board meeting starts.
That's
And
true.
That's the only problem
That's
with that.
true.
It's a good idea, but
I
Yeah.
have
Maybe
the
an
AM
occasional
meetings.
board member that doesn't get out at 5 o'clock either. But in most cases, these were like 10 or 15 minute presentations, and our average finish time over the last year or so has been, we've been out of here in most cases certainly by 8:30, and more often by 8 o'clock when it's a fairly cut and dried agenda. So, and if we know that we have a especially long meeting or executive sessions that are an issue, or probably during the height of budgeting season in December, we not necessarily do this every other meeting, but I would like to, and I have a couple of things in mind, and I'm happy to accept ideas for. One thing that I had thought about is it'd be nice to, at some point, to have Nancy Johnston perhaps come and explain her the things that she does in programs. That's an example. So, and BAMS has some.
Who's Nancy Johnson?
Oh, I'm sorry. What's her title?
She's our school improvement coordinator.
Okay.
And BAMS has some neat things that go on there, and certainly the Career Center does. And so we'll work on that. We have one other item.
Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Perrin, who has a appointment.
Yes, that appointment. So I would like to recommend that the board appoint Michelle Hood, who is currently a science teacher in the science department. I would like to recommend the board appoint her to be the department head for the science department beginning in July 2012. Michelle has been here for several years. She was actually here as a science assistant for several years. Then she left, went to Franklin Pierce College and worked there for a while, then came back here as a biology teacher. Now teaches chemistry, advanced biology, works in Title I. She is a leader within the school. She's currently chairing one of our NEAS committees. She has been an active part of our positive behavior support committees and is a natural leader in the department. Jim Malin is retiring. Ruth served on the committee along with myself, Judy Abascal, who's the Modern Classical Language Department head, Andy Haas, who supervises science, and Bruce Holloway, who is the science teacher, and Paul Smith, the curriculum coordinator, and they have all unanimously recommended her for this position. I would ask the board to do that. Once you do that, we will then have a science position. And before we decide, we may look within the existing candidates, but I would like Michelle to have some input into how that proceeds, and she'll be the department head in July. So I'll consult with her, and we may use the existing candidate pool for this position, or we may reopen the search.
Ruth?
Mr. Chairman, I would,
Oh, excuse me, when she's the department head, does that take her out of the classroom, or?
Not completely, which is great. So rather than teaching 3 block classes a semester, she'll teach 2.
Excuse me.
I move the appointment of Michelle Hood as head of the science department beginning July 1, 2012.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order? I see we have
There was another item? Or did I lose track?
That was it.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I was thinking of another item. That was the third, was
That was
great.
the third day. I think we've got all the items covered. Okay, then I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No abstentions? Thank you all very much. Our next meeting will be on April...
Nice.